Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Afternoons with State Allotments. My name is Dion Quinn, and today is February 12th, 2019. I am coming to you in a pre recorded version today because I am participating in the ACID Planning Committee. The information that I'm bringing for today, I'm sorry I can't be with you live for this information, but I am going to thoroughly walk through today's webinar. And the great thing about it is that if you forgot about this or if you wanted others to join you, you will be able to hit pause, record, bring people in, and go ahead and use the time that you've allotted to listen to this webinar today. Here's my contact information. Should you want to reach out to me, I'm available via phone call, via email, and also on Twitter. So if there are any new Twitter users out there, anyone that would like to follow me and see some of the fun updates that I provide regarding my journey here in Region 10, feel free to do so at Quinn in R10. All right, so here's our agenda for today. As you can see, we got a pretty packed agenda, but it should go pretty fast. So again, feel free to pause, stop, rewind if there's something you didn't quite catch, and always feel free to follow up with me via one of the communication tools that I just shared with you, whether it be my phone number, my email, or my Twitter. All right, so before I jump into this, let me just say I apologize if you hear a slight lisp. I am on my second week, going into my second week of using Smile Direct Club, so I have to keep these aligners in as much as possible. And yes, so again, forgive me if there's a slight lisp at any point during the webinar today. All right, so as you can see, just a quick update on our website. To be honest with you guys, there is a standstill when it comes to this website. The individual that was responsible for granting access to LEA officials is no longer with Region 10. And unfortunately, I don't have control over the website. I actually just provide information to the individuals who actually go in and update it. And I haven't learned who the new contact is for updates to the website. The other piece about this website is that I don't really use it or don't have a need to use it as much. Let me say it that way. There are so many other opportunities to share information with you all. And one of the things I'm considering is creating a Google Classroom where we can sort of have dialogue, ongoing dialogue amongst ourselves as co-op members, or even creating a Google site that will allow me to share information and upload information as well. So let me know how you all feel about that. I do understand the website does have its benefits. It is a secured membership only website. And I believe we could maintain the same thing with our Google Classroom should we opt to do that, whereas individuals would have to be invited into in order to access the materials there. So I've been testing out Google Classroom. I wasn't as familiar with it until I started looking for an alternative to our website. So again, maybe you have some other suggestions. I'd like to know how many of you actually go on the website, use the website. I know I get a lot of emails and phone calls for the information that you all want, and I don't mind continuing that method as well. But again, I do want to make sure those who are used to using the website have another alternative to receive this information. So again, feel free to share with me how you feel about it. All right, so there are a few slides that you will see each month here because we have new people joining us month to month. And so again, these are your 6 state allotments. They are state compensatory education, career and technical education, bilingual and English as a second language, high school, gifted and talented, and finally, special education. So a few weeks ago, I sent out an email just letting everyone know that they could go ahead and schedule a spring visit. Again, these visits are optional, but they are an opportunity for you to share your concerns with me regarding your state allotment programs, to share where you believe you're at, if you have any challenges that you want to discuss. This would be the opportunity to do so. So what I learned during our fall visits is that sometimes I wasn't meeting with the right people. And by right people, I mean that a lot of what we talk about really has to do with your business office, your finance team, and less programmatic. So, I don't mind having all of the individuals in this meeting that you feel are necessary. So, again, think about it. Think about the benefits. Think about where you're at with your state allotments, and then think about who you want at the table as you're scheduling your spring visits. We'll talk a little bit more about what the spring visit could possibly look like. Again, if I didn't have an opportunity to meet with you in the fall, then we'll probably just have a more of a informal type meeting where you just open up and discuss your concerns with the state allotment. So again, the link is available. Please refer back to that email if you are not able to access this link here. And then again, let me know if you need access to this period. I will do my best to accommodate everyone within 24 hours of scheduling a visit. Please be aware, though, just as I am on location today, um, things come up where I may have to move a meeting around or reschedule for whatever reason. I'm being pulled in a lot of great different directions as I network and learn the benefits of Region 10, and just being able to accommodate everyone is becoming a challenge. But I do want to make sure that I am where you need me to be, because you all are my first priority as we continue this great co-op. Um, Again, if there are dates that don't work for you that are here and listed, shoot me an email, give me a phone call, let me know, and I'll do my best to make sure we get you on the schedule. All right. So for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, may be new to State Allotment Co-op, these are your PIC codes. Now, PIC codes are just two-digit codes that are used to designate the intent of a program provided to students. So these codes are used to account for the cost of direct instruction and other services that an LEA might be providing. It's very important to remember that the intent determines the program intent code to be used. And what we mean by that is the student group that actually benefits from the direct instruction, there goes that lisp. Those students or those PIC codes are the ones you want to make sure you're using as it relates to providing those services. So as you can see here in orange, these are the direct cost requirements for each allotment. Comp Ed, you must spend 52%. CTE, you must spend 58%. Gifted and talented, 55% is your requirement there. High school allotment, you got to spend all of it. Special ed, 52%. And then bilingual and English as a second language, also 52%. So what I advise sometimes is that you increase that threshold a little bit at the LEA level. Even though these are your requirements, perhaps you want to move, your CTE up to 58%, because CTE is so broad, so different, that sometimes a lot of the things that we think we're doing could fall into the realm of CTE, especially if we're not following our requirements for identifying, classes and following the program guidelines in terms of providing those services. We may be, as an LEA, just coding things improperly. And so if that becomes the case, and you set your threshold to maybe 60, 61%, and it turns out that some of the things you were doing shouldn't actually be charged to those PIC codes, you want to make sure you still have enough wiggle room in there to make sure you're hitting on your direct cost requirements. So again, keep that in mind. If anyone needs additional assistance with understanding PIC codes, please follow up with me, and we'll get you some help there. All right, another slide you will see every time we meet. And it's all about planning. How are we planning for our state allotments? Of course, you need to have a comprehensive needs assessment, and those needs need to be formulated into strategies that are going to help you meet your goals, your instructional goals for the students that you're working with. So, we have some opportunities for training coming up here in our special revenue unit at Region 10, especially for those who may be very new to the whole comprehensive needs assessment process or even the campus improvement plan process. I encourage you to join us, and I'll share those dates with you later on throughout the webinar. All right, so let's jump into our allotment spotlight. And today's allotment spotlight is uh-oh, gifted and talented. There we go. As you can see, gifted and talented services should go under PIC code 21. And just as we discussed, the direct cost requirements for gifted and talented are 55%. So, for those of you who may need detailed information on some of the things we're going to discuss shortly, here is a link to the Gifted and Talented State Plan. This is where you will get a great resource and see how the Texas Education Codes chapters 29 and 42, as well as the Texas Administrative Code chapter 89, they have been condensed into a state plan. And the state plan is broken into 5 sections, each of which requires some level of decision on how you're going to use your state allotment. So this is a great resource for those of you who may be, again, new to the gifted and talented world in terms of being a program specialist or program director, and you just aren't sure of what you're charged with. This is your resource right here. So let's look at the state goal for gifted and talented education. That's found on page 7 of the handbook. And basically, you'll notice that there's a focus on products and performances when it comes to this goal. Keep this in mind as you start planning and spending for your GT program. You want to ask yourself, how's your GT program supporting the development of innovative products and performances? So this is very, very, very important at the high school level. We're all about, in the state of Texas, looking at how our students, how our GT students have produced those innovative products and performances of a professional quality as a part of their program services. And that can only happen if you all are planning properly and planning for those funds properly. All right, so let's look at the definition real quick. You'll notice that here in Texas, there's a very broad definition, which includes potential and performance in multiple areas. So this is actually a benefit to districts as it allows districts to define a wide array of programs. Some districts, they tend to look at the intellectual potential by measuring IQ, and others tend to look at the performance aspect of it by taking things like the intellect, the leadership, and of course the academics. And then there are districts who look at both of them. So the implication there is that districts must be specific on how their program is established, and that the money is spent to fund these programs that have been designed. All right, so let's look at section 1, which focuses on identifying students. You want to make sure in your LEA you're having those opportunities, or you're making opportunities available to test students. Perhaps in the beginning of the year, you want to make sure you go ahead and establish how you're going to approach the testing aspect for gifted and talented. And sometimes this may involve testing for an unknown number of students. So your districts will need to purchase tests and possibly stipends for proctoring of those tests. The other point here is that the assessments the districts use must align to how they intend to serve gifted students. So again, if the district is looking for potential, you are going to probably go ahead and purchase those IQ and ability tests If your district is focusing more on achievement, then you need those normed achievement tests, for this for identifying your students. And again, if you're doing both, then you will need both different, both test types of tests in order to uh, effectively test those students for gifted and talented services. The other piece here is that students should be assessed in languages that they understand or with nonverbal assessment. So you want to make sure that you're purchasing tests in different languages, in order to accommodate everyone that is necessary to be tested. Section 2 focuses on service design. So you will see that for a GT program to be in compliance, the teachers who are identified to serve GT students within those 4 core classes, they need access to training and resources. So again, the more those teachers come in with the knowledge that they need, they will be able to provide a better program, all around better program for those GT students. So keep that in mind. Again, as you're planning for these funds, it should be tied back to the design that you've all come up with. And again, that starts with the comprehensive needs assessment, which we mentioned earlier, followed by those identifying the needs of each student once you've had them tested. So the other piece here is out of school options. There should be out of school options for your gifted and talented students. However, I caution you on this because the finance accountability system does not recommend program intent code 21 for such activities. So when it comes to field trips and camps, you want to look for other funding resources in order to meet the needs of out of school options when it comes to gifted and talented service design. Section 3 focuses heavily on curriculum and instruction. So here, teachers will need resources all over again in order to really have students meet their highest potential and go above and beyond in meeting the state goal. We got to have resources for our teachers. So, there shouldn't be, as long as you have access to this gifted and talented allotment, work with your district leaders. There shouldn't really be any, I don't want to say pushback, but there should be enthusiasm in making sure that your curriculum and instruction for, this group is stellar. So, let them know that we've got to have the resources in place. We've got to have the materials in place if we want to be, at the top of our game when it comes to servicing our GT students. Again, you're going to see this throughout that handbook, leads to the development of products or performances. So, again, this ties back to materials, technology, supplies, resources, all of those things that are necessary in order to really drive home the state goal here when it comes to the development of products or performances. And then bullet 3 here focuses on CBE. So by compliance law, students may take CBEs to accelerate a subject, but these tests may not be deferred to parents. So, unfortunately, parents are not expected to pay for this. You cannot make parents pay for this. This will be at the cost of the district. So keep that in mind. And please feel free to view that web link there regarding CBEs. Section 4 looks at professional development. So basically, teachers who provide GT instruction and services are required to complete 30 hours of professional development. Now, I understand this can be a huge cost, so you want to think smart about this. You want to think about how can we get what we need in terms of professional development, but at the same time, make sure that majority of our funds are still going towards the direct services of students. Now, some may argue that PD is considered a direct service that will benefit the student because, again, if those teachers are learning and getting access to information, the hope is that they're passing that down. However, you may have several teachers in the GT program and not enough money to send them all. So you want to again think about your options there, whether it's online, face to face, or train to trainer type opportunity. Just be very, very careful and think strategically when it comes to getting PD for your gifted and talented teachers there. Second bullet, the need for 6-hour updates is an additional expense. They teachers receive a minimum of 6 hours annually. So again, you want to be strategic about how your teachers are going to meet that requirement. And then bullet 3 here, Region 10 has a special training that has been created for our admin and counselors that focuses on the nature and needs of gifted students. So, at the end of this subject matter, as we talk about gifted and talented, I'll share with you some additional context that you may want to follow up as it relates to getting the Region 10 trainings that are necessary. Now, again, I'm coming to you from a fiscal compliance when it comes to explaining the gifted and talented program, not from a programmatic side. So even though we're talking about PD and things that are going to, help the program, we're also focusing on how we're going to use our allotment in a wise and effective manner. So follow up. I encourage you to follow up if you have detailed questions about program requirements. Again, I encourage you to follow up with our Region 10 gifted and talented team, which I'll share again their information shortly. Finally, Section 5. Like most programs, there is a family and community involvement aspect to GT. And so, Section 5, page 22 through 23 will walk you through that. But please remember that you want to keep parents informed on decisions as it relates to, for one, their student who, if the student is in gifted and talented services, but, making sure that parents have letters. They understand when meetings are coming up. If you've scheduled meetings throughout the year, go ahead and provide that information up front so that parents can put that on our calendar. A lot of times we're focused on, trying to get parents involved, but we don't, do the leg work to get them involved. So plan out your meetings ahead of time, whether it's for this program, Title I, or something else, and give that to parents up front. There could possibly be no excuse for them not coming if they know to plan for it ahead of time effectively. Just like we share out information when we plan from an ESC perspective, we try to plan out for the entire year to share that information at the beginning of the year so that you all can get that on your calendar. Consider that for your families, consider that for your parents and guardians, as our students are very, very busy with sports and other activities throughout the year. And so I'm sure parents would appreciate if they could get this type of information on their calendar ahead of time. All right. So as I mentioned, these are your R10 gifted and talented contacts there. So feel free to study that slide for a second, jot down the information, screenshot it, or take a picture of it with your cell phone, what have you. But these are the individuals that you will follow up for programmatic questions. They will be able to walk you through evaluations, monitorings, identifications, and so much more as it relates to this program. So speaking of program monitoring, we're going to talk a little bit about that this month. We're going to look at program monitoring here this month, and next month we're going to look at program evaluation. So program evaluation is much more detailed, but program monitoring, it is February, it is decision-making time. You all are probably assessing different strategies and activities that you've implemented throughout the year. You're trying to figure out, are we getting to where we need to be? So I want to help you with that today by just giving you a quick overview of program monitoring here. I'm sure several of you have seen this before. This is just the school improvement process. It's a continuous process. I like to call it continuous school improvement process. But as you can see, monitor is just a piece of the entire process, monitoring your programs, making sure that you're able to determine the effectiveness of the program. Is it working? Is it not working? At what point do we begin to pause ourselves and make adjustments? So that's what monitoring is all about here. All right, so just in detail, the definition: performance monitoring reveals whether or not those results are occurring and whether implementation is on track. So, plain and simple, are we getting to where we expect us to be? And if not, what are we going to do about it? It's used to gauge whether or not those activities need adjustment. So, again, what are you going to do about it? Here we are in February, still have some time ahead of us before the end of the school year. You may determine that something isn't going right now. This would be the time to go ahead and make those changes with some of your programs. It requires the collection of data at multiple points throughout the program cycle, including at the beginning, to provide a baseline. So you definitely want to know where you started so you have an idea of how close are you getting to that stated goal that should be in your CIP or district improvement plan somewhere. So again, more simple definition of monitoring: we're just watching, we're keeping track, or keeping an eye on, we're keeping our programs under observation. The same thing we would do if we were in the kitchen cooking, if we are monitoring our finances, if we have a brand new baby. What do? We monitor those things. We monitor our children, we monitor our finances. And so it's just making sure that you check the progress or quality of something over a period of time. So I'm sure if you're like me and you've baked a cake or two in your lifetime, you've checked on that cake several times within the 45 minutes that it should be in the oven. You want to make sure it's not, not over baking or not under baking at the same time. Same thing you should consider for your programs. You want to make sure you're having those time checks, those systematic time checks, systemic reviews for your programs here. So why should we monitor our programs at all? Simple. It's essential for ensuring that all facets of our state allotments are being implemented according to state law and guidance. It also gives district a systematic process for providing technical assistance. So again, you may be just the program director, but you have program specialists, program coordinators, or some other type of positions under you who actually oversee the different aspects of the program. And you need to be able to check in as the program director to make sure that, for one, you're spending the money the way you desire, and that two, you're getting the results that you desire. And if not, there's time for technical assistance, whether it's through your in-house technical assistance or getting individuals to the different ESCs in order to get that information and change your program up a little bit. The other piece here is that it provides data and information which will guide schools to a successful program implementation throughout the year. And then the last piece, it is used as a means of knowing and recording activities taking place in schools. So this little diagram tells it all here, or this picture, I should say. You see the duck. I'm sure some of you have felt like the duck on the left here. I know I have plenty of times. And then there's always those ducks that you see there in the middle or on the right. Why bother? Everything's going fine, but they don't see what's ahead of them. So it's very important that, monitoring gives us a pretty good picture of what we can expect down the road should we not modify ourselves. This would be great to keep in mind, when you're doing your district improvement planning. Maybe you're bringing your team together and they don't quite understand, why we're going to embed monitoring activities throughout the year. This would be a great piece to sum it all up for those individuals that may be new to your process here. Okay, so just again, this is a slide. The next few slides, 3 slides, I believe, you'll see next month as well. So just clarifying some roles between monitoring and evaluation. Monitoring, it clarifies your objectives versus evaluation. We're analyzing why those intended results were or were not achieved. So again, I won't really harp on this too much this month because we're going to dive into this a lot next month. But just again, looking at monitoring, it links activities and their resources back to the objectives. It translates the objectives into performance indicators and it sets targets. Monitoring, we're routinely collecting data on those indicators and comparing the actual results at the time to the targets that we have in mind. And then the reports progress to managers and alerts them to the problems that we see coming. So again, that's one way to look at monitoring, or when we're comparing monitoring to evaluation. That's how we feel. That's what we should consider as we look at monitoring. So again, a little bit more detail on monitoring versus evaluation here. I will not go into detail about this. I'll let you kind of study that real quick. Here you see the objectives for each one, the methodology used for each one, characteristics of monitoring versus evaluation, and then how the two can be used. So like I said, again, you'll see these last few slides again next month as we dive into evaluation. So the last time we met, which was in December, I believe, so Happy New Year if I haven't spoken to you, I talked a little bit about the SAMP monitoring tool. And so today we're going to just take a few moments to really look at that. I think this tool is going to be a great resource for you all to conduct your own internal monitoring of state allotments. So please use this how you desire. I'm going to open this up to sharing with you all so you can manipulate it. I know some of you desire bigger font. I know some of you may have your own way of, copy and pasting this into a more simpler form, if you will. However you intend to use it. Just make sure that you are keeping the requirements there, and we'll talk a little bit about. I'll share with you shortly. But again, add a column for notating who's responsible for each indicator if you'd like within your LEA. Perhaps again, some of this information that you're going to see has nothing to do with you, and it's all about the finance team. So this is something you want to share with those individuals. If you have local policies for any of the allotments, make sure that you include those within this form if you intend to use it. But again, my hope is that you use this and you're able to really effectively monitor your state allotment programs. Let's dive into the live form here. And as you can see, I'll try to reduce this down a little bit. I'm not sure how this is coming off on your end, but let's just take it from the top. We have, of course, your LEA name up here, the indicator. So there are about 12 indicators, I believe, and then sub indicators. So, it's probably maybe, I haven't counted, but I'm going to say about maybe 30 indicators altogether, but 12 different sections. And I don't want you to be afraid. This shouldn't be, scary to look at. But you have your statute. My goal is to provide the statute for each indicator. And keep in mind that some indicators may not necessarily tie directly to a statute. It may be coming from the program guidance, which will somehow, tie back to a statute. But it might not say that in statute, 11.2.51, you must communicate with parents. It may, it may just be a requirement of the program itself. So, keep that in mind. There will be references to federal statutes as well. And I'll show you that as I scroll down in a minute. But, keep that in mind that some of the indicators here They do come from federal guidelines that you should be implementing as well for your state allotment programs as it relates to some of the internal control requirements. Let's see. Let me scroll over here. So here in the middle, you see evidence provided by the LEA to verify implementation. This is going to really just give you um, examples of what it is you should have on hand when you're preparing for a visit or an audit or what have you. Um, this doesn't mean that everything listed will help you pass, but I can guarantee you that if you have a lot of this stuff in place and organized properly, you'll save yourself a lot of headaches as it relates to a monitoring or a mock monitoring or whatever have you. Here you see the evidence review column, and that's where an auditor or maybe yourself who is monitoring the program, you're able to add notes and make sure that the person receiving the review understands what was reviewed, and therefore they can come to this LEA compliance status column and get a better understanding of why the compliance status was possibly chosen. So let's just kind of take a look at this first indicator here, indicator 1A. And again, I hope you can see this okay. I'm not sure how this is coming off on your end, but indicator 1A, the evidence that allotment program plans are comprehensive, developed, reviewed, and evaluated annually, and revised accordingly with the involvement of the district campus improvement plan team. So if we scroll over here, you see that some of the evidence that an auditor may want to see would include the most recent district improvement plan or campus improvement plan. And you want to make sure that that date of revision or completion is on there as well. Within that CIP or DIP, there should be a CNA summary. And in some cases, some may want to see your entire comprehensive needs assessment. So, while I have summary, just be prepared to provide much more detailed information, because you never again know exactly what an auditor may be looking for or trying to get at there. Some other evidence could include copy of dated meeting agendas, dated sign-in sheets, which would specify the roles of individuals that were actually present during the development of your DIP or CIP. And then just for today's webinar, I've created some notes here to just kind of show you how I would approach this if I was really reviewing Piccadilly ISD's information. But as you can see, I just put in that the DIP, which included the summary of CNA, was present, along with the agenda, sign-in sheets, artifacts. From the sign-in sheets, I could tell who was actually, what their role was. So for me, I gave this LEA fully met the requirement. As you can see, it's a drop down that gives you 4 different choices here. And since they fully met the requirement, there was not a need to include any notes there. So if you're looking at the second indicator under part 1, I'd say 1B, evidence that the LEA provided the personnel training, appropriate personnel with training in the areas of state allotments. And so, again, we've talked in previous webinars about how the state felt that was something that was challenging based off their mock audits, that there wasn't evidence in place to show that these individuals who are working in these allotments have actually been trained. So if you scroll over, see some of the evidence, which would include agenda, sign-in sheets, again, maybe some training materials, some of the artifacts, handouts, presentation slides, and also the LEA training certificate. So in this example, I said that there was no evidence for this indicator, and there we have a red, meaning the LEA did not meet the requirement. My notes here is that the LEA will self-correct this action by scheduling training throughout each school year for the appropriate personnel. The LEA provided evidence from statewide trainings, but no evidence for in-house LEA personnel training. So again, auditors are different. It may be that this statewide training is okay to one auditor, but it may be that another auditor comes in and says, hey, well, why aren't you doing train the trainer type situations. If you've sent people off to the state trainings, why didn't they come back? So you want to make sure you have evidence across the board that you are providing the trainings that are necessary. I can recall being on both sides of the table. I've been audited and I've been on a team of auditors when I was in Georgia. And, everyone's going to be different. I remember overseeing our PNP program at the district I was working at before moving to Texas. And for 2 years in a row, I had a shining, review. No findings, nothing. Everything was in place. But that third year, I had a different person, and I got dinged on not providing the the certificates, the mail out certificates for consultation. I got dinged on that because the auditor had a list of every private school within my zone, and I was missing two out of probably 1,000, and I got dinged on it. So those are findings that they hurt, but those are findings that I can live with because it wasn't a finding that was going to cost the district. If you're going to get a finding, make sure it's a programmatic finding that is not going to cost you. Those, again, don't sting as much. It just gives you reference to go back and install some corrective actions down the line. What else? That's this piece here. Let's scroll back over. We'll look at indicator 1C, I believe. And this one, the LEA maintains and updates regularly their local fiscal policy and procedures. There you see the evidence that could be provided. In this case, the LEA provided evidence of their finance policies and procedures, which the last revision was 2015. The policy and procedures manual lacked internal control procedures, including segregation of duties, as well as the LEA travel policy. So in this example, I provided partially met the requirement. So here you go, just a few notes. Again, the LEA provided evidence of ongoing meetings regarding the revision of the latest policy. Evidence included a draft copy, schedule of meetings, and projected timeline for completion of the updated policies and procedures manual. So a lot of times there are some auditors who will, spend a little bit more time digging in as to, maybe you do have it, maybe you don't, maybe you have some of it. Whereas there are some who just won't give you, any chance to fulfill that requirement on site. You either have it or you don't in some cases. So it just, again, depends on maybe how nice the person is that day, how they woke up on the side of the bed, or which side of the bed they woke up on, I should say. It could be that they started Smile Direct Club and their teeth are really, really hurting them right now. So just again, there's always going to, well, here's what I'll say. I remember being on the team and we were told you do not walk out of this LEA without finding something. And so I think that's the goal of every auditor, folks, is to make sure they walk away with something, because that's their job, right? Is to find things, to call us out on our things and help us improve. And so again, if you're going to have a finding, make sure it's programmatic and not necessarily fiscal related, something that's going to cost you, or maybe cancel out a program, or maybe even have individuals looking for a new job, if you know what I mean. Just real quick, want to scroll down so you can see some of the different areas. Like I said, there are about 12 different sections or indicators altogether, but each one has, a few other sub indicators or subsections, however you want to term it. Number 3 is important. Again, I talked a little bit about, some of the statutes coming from the federal side, and that includes your inventory. Folks, if your district has an inventory policy and procedure in place, use it for your state allotments. You do not need to create something totally different for your state allotments inventory. You want to make sure that if you're using the same process, you will be able to identify which funding source that equipment came from. And so, I encourage you to look at section 3 a little bit closely, refer to Edgar and the sections here listed if you need a little bit more help in understanding the inventory procedures. Perhaps your district just does a horrible job with this, and it's something you want to, bring up at a meeting or however you want to do it. But again, this really doesn't fall in the hands of program individuals. Inventory is a fiscal subject matter, and so a lot of finance policies and procedures manuals will have how inventory is handled laid out throughout that policy. So please don't take on the ownership of trying to track and keep up and create the policy for the district. Rather, share this information to make sure your district is following the guidelines, so that when you are buying equipment out of your state allotments, you're treating it as such as expected by Edgar and really the state. Again, this was an area that came up in some of the results of the mock monitorings that were taking place. And, we want to make sure that we're doing what we can in order to cover ourselves when it comes to spending all of this wonderful money on technology and other equipment. Let's see here, scrolling down a little bit more. Section 4 focuses on, that's your personnel file. So again, we're talking about job descriptions. We talked a lot about that this year, stipends, employee certificates. And then section 5 on forth, all the way down to section 12, really focuses on the programmatic side of things. So you'll have each section dedicated to one of the programs. Some of the programs have much more requirements than others. So, there may be only 1 or 2 indicators right now for a couple of areas, but this is a forever evolving document. So I don't want you to think that, this is it. As I update this, I will share it with you all so that you can have the latest tool and be able to, again, effectively conduct the monitoring internally. And this is what I intend to use when I come out. For some of you who had the fall visit, we talked a little bit about this document. And so if you desire for me to come out and conduct a mock monitoring, we can do the same. So the other piece that I will leave you with before we move on is that this will allow you to really organize yourselves for monitoring. If you have never been monitored or been part of an audit, follow this document, plan accordingly based off indicator. I don't know if you prefer binders or, the file boxes or whatever, but don't just have everything laid out and expect auditors to come in and start searching for it. Label things appropriately for them. I can recall being on a team where we went out and, unfortunately, the school district was just not ready. They expected us to go through their file cabinets and just find things, but that didn't work for the team I was on at the time. And I think they try to entice us with snacks and, coffee and donuts and all of that, thinking that, if we provide food for them, they will forget about these millions of federal dollars and monitoring those dollars and how they were being used. So don't do that to your auditors. Don't do that to yourselves. Be very prepared. So again, you might desire binders, you might desire file cabinets, folders, whatever. Just make sure that it's organized in a way that will hopefully get you the best result you need, because it would be easy for an auditor or a team of individuals to just go through those items indicator by indicator and know what they're looking for. All right. So again, that's the SAMP monitoring tool. Let's jump right back into our presentation here. So I got a very, very interesting question. One that is very challenging, one that I'm excited, that got me a little excited because I had to research, find it, figure some things out here. But basically the question came in, how does TEA calculate the PIC 99 funds to get the final direct spending percentage? It's really no simple answer from my perspective, because this isn't an area that I work in a whole lot when it comes to calculations and PIC code funds and all of that good stuff. I just kind of know which PIC code you should be using. But I was able to find the answer. I'm not sure if this is the latest answer, so I'll do my best to research a little bit more. but this information was provided. It's in the fast rag actually, and I followed up with another LEA official who was uh, well versed in PIC codes and understanding how the TSDS system works to calculate direct spending percentage. So here's your answer. It's basically just a formula that is ran, and somehow they come up with the total expenditure there. So I'm sorry that might just seem like a brush off, but I honestly don't know the details of the formula itself. So just hopefully this helps you out for those that for the LEA that submitted this question. What I do know is that, or what I did learn is that, again, while each allotment has a direct cost requirement, PIC code 99 is sort of used as a catch-all, and it can help districts meet that compliance requirement, that direct cost requirement, I should say, some kind of way. So I'm still trying to get all of the details behind that. If there's someone out there listening who really knows how to break that down a little bit more, feel free to shoot me an email, and I would love to go back over this again next month, just to make sure that everyone is clear on this. Super, super. So we're almost done. I promise. I promise. Like I said, we have a lot of information to cover, and I hope it's very good information for you all this month. My goal is to provide good information, but also provide you with some no goods. So this is a new installment, based off you all submitting questions. There is a piece that asks that you submit what you're doing with your allotment funds. How are you using your allotment funds? I think I say in, what unique ways are you using them? As long as it's unique to you, please share. There are people, as I go out on these visits, there have been questions about what can we do? How can we do? And so sometimes, not being from Texas, I don't have all of the answers because I wasn't raised here. I haven't had an opportunity to really see what other school districts are doing with these allotment funds. We didn't have these type of funds in the state of Georgia. So, again, if you're doing something unique, please share it so that you can hopefully be on my allotment no goods. And yeah, that name might change. I don't know. I just came up with it. But who is our allotment no goods spotlight on this month? Uplift Education. And what are they doing? So Uplift Education has hired licensed social workers at every campus. They currently have 45 social workers serving over 18,000 students. That's tremendous. They are also in their third year of using panorama student surveys across all schools, which gives them the opportunity to measure student engagement, persistence, and social and emotional learning. So thank you, Uplift, for sharing that information this month. I wasn't aware of the panorama survey, simply because I'm not in a school setting and I don't know what resources are being used out there in order to gather this type of data. So I've provided the link for those of you who may be interested. I think this will probably lead to some great data for your CIP. So again, click on that link, reach out to me if you want more information from Uplift. I'll be actually visiting Uplift next week. And so I'm looking forward to that visit. I'm looking forward to visiting you all, everyone out there. But, if there's a question that you have about how they're using that and you'd like me to get the answer for you, feel free to send it to me before the 19th, before I sit down with the great folks at Uplift. So again, thank you, Uplift, for submitting that information this month. Upcoming opportunities. So just so you know, there are several opportunities coming up here in the new year from a special revenue perspective. The first one being Fed Camp, which is March 6th, 2019. Fed Camp will take place here at Region 10 over at our Abrams building. So, please plan on joining us for that. It's a great networking opportunity, a great opportunity to, again, connect with other LEAs regarding how they're using federal funds, what they're seeing as challenges when it comes to federal funds, and just feed off each other and help each other and support each other out as much as possible. The other opportunity, the CIP training, on April 16th through 17th. It is a 2-day training, so I encourage you, if you sign up, please go ahead and sign up for both days. Um, this is a great opportunity for you to bring your school improvement team or your CIP team together to talk about what is it that you may not be seeing, or how you can go about it in a different way. This is a training designed for you based on your needs. So come with questions if you do desire to show up. Come with draft copies of, if you've already started your 1920 plan, and bring your 1819 plan. Again, a lot of times we're just revising those plans. And so sometimes, we may need to just start all over. If you've been revising your plan, the same plan for the last 3 years, it may be time to dump that one and start from the beginning in order to, effectively target those individuals on your campus. You may have new staff, new administrators, brand new populations of students. So some of the things that you were doing 2, 3 years ago, they may not seem as effective moving forward. So again, please come out and sit with us for the CIP training. Not lastly, well, yes, the last solidified date we have on the calendar is our federal program directors meeting. If you came out in the fall, we had over 100 participants, and so I expect the same. This is a great opportunity to get updates and hear new information, get a little bit of training in there as well. Come with questions, come with a great attitude, come ready to have a good time. This special revenue team is very enthusiastic about what we do. Not saying that we weren't in the past, but we're excited to serve you. We look forward to seeing your faces every time we have an opportunity. So definitely be sure to join us and invite others to this meeting, others that you feel are going to be appropriate to hear the subjects that we're talking about. Maybe there's a assistant superintendent who needs to hear about the effectiveness of CIPs, and maybe you've had some challenges in trying to explain that in the past. So this will be a great opportunity to have those individuals come out once we release the agenda, get a better idea of who you should be inviting from your district. And then lastly, we are planning to have a business managers meeting. Again, as I've been alluding to throughout this webinar, some of the things that you're required to do for these programs don't necessarily involve your office at all. And so we're going to conduct a business managers meeting that will target some of the subject matters that they should be focused on as it relates to helping you all manage your program. So keep that in mind. Be on the lookout for that date. I believe we're going to try to solidify that date tomorrow, or not tomorrow, I'm sorry, on Friday. I'm already looking forward to Friday, guys. This Friday, we have our Federal Friday. That is, again, opportunity to get updates on what we're doing here at Region 10 as it relates to Title I. So I encourage you to listen to that so that you have the most updated information on upcoming trainings. Nationally, there is the National Association of Federal Education Program Administrators, and that's also known as NAFEPA. NAFEPA will take place Monday, March 18th through Wednesday, March 20th. There is a pre-conference taking place on Sunday, March 17th. And of course, this will be in Washington, D.C., our lovely national capital. I will be there. Some of my colleagues will be there as well. So, if you're planning to go and hear and get some of those federal updates, again, it's an opportunity for you to bring that information back to your district and share it amongst the team. So if you are going, let me know. I look forward to sitting with you all and seeing some of you all and having a good time with you all. All right. Next, we have ACID. And again, that's where I'm coming to you live from. I am on the planning committee. So unfortunately, our planning committee for this month was scheduled for the same time as this webinar, which is why I can't be with you live. But I am here working on your behalf. This year's theme, from obstacles to opportunities, letting the light shine on. And I'm excited about that theme because I had a chance to present it. I had a chance to come with it, I guess, or suggest it. So, from obstacles to opportunities was my suggestion. And then we had another individual from another um, outside LEA suggests letting the light shine on. We thought, why can't we merge the two? It sounds like a beautiful theme. And I hope that from that theme, we give you a beautiful conference. So please join us in Austin, Texas, April 23rd through the 25th. We're going to, you should begin to see some changes with the ACID conference moving forward. We're trying to go green. We're trying to embed a whole lot more technology and just make this a more friendly, more user-friendly conference, if you will, by allowing you to engage with your technology while getting some great, useful information. And so, hopefully, down the line, we can continue to see more talks regarding our state allotments, and get some of those much-needed questions answered at these types of conferences as well. Registration is open, so go ahead and go visit acetx.org, acetx.org. I'm sorry, the lisp is getting out of control now. Thankfully, as we get to the end. But if you are coming to ACID, I look forward to seeing you there. And I'll be running around as I'm part of this spring committee. But this is the work that I love doing. And so I'm excited again to have an opportunity to serve you all in a different capacity. 806 Technologies, they offer tons of professional development and training on their products. You know that they're a partner of Region 10. And so, if you're using their products for the Title I crate or a plan for learning, let us know. We want to make sure that, you're getting what you need out of those products. And we want to understand how they're helping you. How, do you see a difference as it relates to planning? Is it what you expected at the end of the day? So if you're not familiar with Plan for Learning, it gives those assurances to LEAs that their CNA and CIP meet all the state and federal requirements, whereas Title I CRATE allows federal program managers a centralized document control for all their federal and state documentation. So I haven't really had an opportunity to dive into the product, so I'm not sure how they assist in terms of keeping up with your state allotment requirements. But again, this is something that you would want to make sure is set up properly in case you're audited. So if the product in its current state doesn't allow for you to really capture the requirements from a state allotment perspective, let me know. Let's work together where we can possibly come up with another alternative, maybe using Google Drive or some of the Google products that are out there. I know in my former district, I created folders for each campus that I was overseeing, as the federal programs director at the time. So I was able to collect that information right there in Google Drive. I'm sure 806 Technologies and Plan for Learning and Title I CRATE, are those products under 806 Technologies, have some way of doing that as well. So if you're already using that, let me know, and let me know how that's going for you. If you're not using it, consider it. Consider 806 Technologies. Um, and if you maybe are a district who can't afford it, again, let me know, and we can look at how we can utilize what you already have within your district to make sure you're within compliance. So again, there is a bunch of training offered by 806 Technologies, whether it's on Title I CRATE or a Plan for Learning. Those are some wonderful individuals. If you haven't met them, I encourage you to, have an opportunity to, if you are at ACID, I'm sure they will have a booth at ACID. So maybe sit down with them, talk to them about your needs, and hopefully they can help you meet those needs. All right, so our next webinar is going to be March 12th. And again, the focus will be program evaluation. I encourage you to go ahead and submit questions and suggestions for this next webinar. And again, if there are districts out there, I'd love to highlight more than one district next month. But if you have something unique going on, something amazing going on, or just something you want to share that you have going on in terms of the use of your state allotments, please let me know so that I can put it out there and again, give suggestions to other individuals. And this is your special revenue contact team or contact information. This is the team. So again, we have a position open, I believe. No, we do. Title I consultant position is still open on our website. Please, 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 if you know individuals who might be interested, or if you're interested yourself, I encourage you to apply. This is a great group to work with. And again, as we transition and figure out how we're going to bring you the most important information moving forward, we want to add someone with the same enthusiasm that we have to the team. So if you think that you're a great fit, if you are, good on your content knowledge, and you feel like you can bring something new to the table for this team, please, please apply. We are definitely looking to have someone, as we get ready to close out this school year. We want to add someone to the team so that they can come fresh into the next school year, hitting the ground running with the rest of us. And finally, again, my contact information. I really appreciate you all being here, sticking with me. Again, I'm sorry I couldn't be here live, but as far as I know, this is our last ACIT meeting before the conference. So I intend to join you live in March. But again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I look forward to hearing from you all, working with you all, and seeing you all in the near future. Have a fantastic day.